From red rock canyons to desert sunsets, New Mexico looks like a dream. But behind the beauty lies a harsher truth. Skyrocketing crime, extreme heat, drying rivers, and entire towns vanishing off the map. Why are so many people leaving, and why does it feel like nobody's talking about it? Let's take a closer look at the hidden struggles of the land of enchantment, crime that scares people away. New Mexico consistently ranks among the top states for violent crime, and not just in Albuquerque. Cities like Gallup, Roswell, and Farmington see crime rates that shock even longtime residents. Break-ins, car thefts, assaults, these aren't rare incidents. Some families keep their kids indoors after dark. Others are leaving neighborhoods they've called home for generations. The problem runs deep. Underfunded police departments, strained social services, and high poverty rates all contribute. Even smaller towns are seeing the ripple effects, with drug-related crime creeping into once quiet areas. For many, the risk doesn't feel worth it anymore. No matter how beautiful the landscape is, if you don't feel safe walking your street, that's a deal breaker. And for those still holding on, they're hoping something changes before their hometowns change beyond recognition. Poverty that doesn't make the headlines. New Mexico has one of the highest poverty rates in the U.S., but it rarely gets national attention. In some counties, over 25% of residents live below the poverty line. That means limited food, unstable housing, and constant stress. Rural towns and tribal lands are hit especially hard. Jobs are scarce. Public transportation, nearly non-existent. Even basic services like reliable internet or clean water are a daily struggle in some areas. Kids grow up without access to opportunity, and often without a reason to stay. It's not about laziness or lack of effort. It's a cycle that's hard to break when you're surrounded by broken systems. Meanwhile, wages in many parts of the state haven't kept up with inflation, so even if you're working full-time, you're still just scraping by. Tourists may see the art galleries and desert sunsets, but locals, they see empty grocery store shelves and underfunded schools. This isn't just about economics, it's about survival. A healthcare crisis in plain sight. In many parts of New Mexico, getting sick is a gamble, not because of what you have, but because of where you live. Entire counties don't have a single hospital. Specialist care? You might need to drive 3 to 5 hours one way. This isn't just a rural problem. Even in cities like Las Cruces or Farmington, doctor shortages and long wait times are common. New Mexico ranks near the bottom in the U.S. For physician-to-resident ratios, that means fewer doctors, longer waits, and overloaded emergency rooms. And for expectant mothers, some areas have lost their only maternity wards, forcing women to travel across counties to give birth. The crisis hits Native communities even harder. Underfunded tribal clinics and limited federal resources leave thousands without regular care. Mental health services are also dangerously lacking. Despite growing needs, many towns have 0 full-time counselors or therapists. It's not just inconvenient. For some New Mexicans, lack of access to healthcare is a matter of life and death. And when families can't trust the system to be there when it counts, they leave. The economy few can count on. New Mexico has potential, but its economy? It's fragile, uneven, and often disappointing. Much of the state relies heavily on government jobs, energy production, and tourism. But outside of Santa Fe or Albuquerque, stable, good-paying jobs are hard to come by. Rural areas in particular are stuck in a cycle of low wages and high unemployment. Many residents work multiple part-time jobs just to make ends meet, often without benefits or long-term security. Yes, there's a tech presence in places like Los Alamos, and Hollywood films do shoot in the desert, but those opportunities don't trickle down to the average New Mexican. If you're not already in, it's tough to break in. Young professionals often leave for better prospects in Texas, Arizona, or Colorado. Meanwhile, small towns struggle to attract or keep the kind of businesses that build economic momentum. And with rising housing costs in urban centers, even locals with jobs can't always afford to stay. In short, New Mexico offers beauty, but not always opportunity. The dream is real, but for many, so is the struggle to build a future. A state stuck between identities. New Mexico isn't quite the Southwest, not fully Southern, and definitely not part of the booming West. That identity crisis bleeds into everything, from its struggling economy to stalled development plans. Parts of the state cling to its indigenous and Spanish heritage, while others chase modern industries or tourism dollars. But instead of blending smoothly, the result is fragmented. Rural areas feel forgotten. Cities feel stretched thin. Policy is often mismatched. What helps Albuquerque may hurt Gallup. Santa Fe gets attention, while other towns are stuck with aging infrastructure. There's no unified vision, just patches of promise separated by long stretches of decline. New Mexico has the bones of greatness, rich culture, beautiful land, hard-working people. But without cohesion, it's hard to build anything lasting. For many, it feels like a state still trying to figure out what it wants to be, while others already gave up waiting. Education that fails too many. New Mexico consistently ranks near the bottom in national education rankings, and it's not just a statistic, it's a crisis. Underpaid teachers, outdated textbooks, and crumbling school buildings are common even in larger districts. In rural areas, kids may have to travel over an hour just to get to class, if there's even a school left open. Dropout rates are high, test scores are low, and for many families, especially in low-income or indigenous communities, there's a deep distrust in a system that's failed them for generations. Even promising students often leave the state for college and don't come back. The result? A growing skills gap and a brain drain that makes recovery even harder. There are bright spots, passionate educators, innovative charter schools, and dedicated community efforts, but systemic underfunding and decades of neglect have left scars that are hard to ignore. For parents looking to raise their kids with opportunity, New Mexico's education system can be a deal breaker. Infrastructure that time forgot. In many parts of New Mexico, it feels like the basics never got finished. Some roads are so riddled with potholes they're nearly impassable after a storm. Entire communities still rely on dirt roads and aging bridges. Public transportation is almost non-existent outside of a few cities, and even in places like Albuquerque or Santa Fe, options are limited, making a car an absolute necessity. Broadband internet? Still unavailable or painfully slow in large swaths of rural New Mexico. That's not just an inconvenience. It blocks access to remote work, online education, and even healthcare. Water infrastructure is another crisis. In some towns, pipes are over 50 years old and leaking. Others face water shortages or contamination risks. All of this makes daily life harder and growth even harder to attract. When basic infrastructure fails, families, businesses, and opportunities go elsewhere. Who's still staying and why? Despite the challenges, New Mexico still holds a deep, almost spiritual appeal for some. Artists, nature lovers, retirees, and those drawn to slower, quieter living often choose to stay. For many, it's about connection, to the land, to family roots, to tradition. Communities in places like Taos or Silver City often support each other in ways big cities can't. There's pride in resilience, culture, and surviving where others wouldn't. And then there's the landscape, vast desert skies, ancient pueblos, the scent of piñon wood burning in winter. It's not for everyone, but for some, it's everything. Still, even the most loyal locals admit it's getting harder. As services decline and costs rise, holding on to that way of life takes more effort each year. New Mexico isn't empty, but many feel like it's being left behind. New Mexico is one of the most enchanting places in America, and one of the most overlooked. Its beauty is undeniable, but so are the challenges. From struggling healthcare to vanishing jobs, this isn't just a story of decline, it's a question of what comes next. Would you live in a place like this? Or is the cost of quiet desert life just too high in today's world? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for the next video in this series. We're heading to Nevada next, and what's happening there might surprise you.